are racing in the Formula Winter Series for the second weekend. 1.3 seconds it does get a mighty run outside of the final corner. Danny Sufi loses it into the first corner. We are underway and racing in the GT Winter Series, but already.
Well, a very warm welcome to Valencia, where we are here for the Winter Series once again. And sadly, no racing for us today due to very high winds around the circuit. But it has given us a unique opportunity to go and catch up with some faces from around the paddock. And Andy, Adam, we've had a really interesting day, haven't we?
That is definitely a word for it. It's been quite interesting, though, I think. We've had an opportunity to take a look at some of the areas of the circuit we don't often get to go into, talk to people we don't often get to talk to. I've had a lesson on how in-car cameras work, which you will both know was quite an education for me in particular. So yeah, been an interesting day, even with the lack of on-track action.
Yeah, it certainly has been. I mean, educational is probably the word for it. I've learned about the track limits, race control. I've learned about scrutineering. I mean, we've really had the chance to catch up with so many interesting people from around the paddock. And I know, Adam, you've been in your historic happy place, shall we say?
Talking about 20 to 40 years ago for most of the day, yes. Well up my alley. And, of course, we now get the opportunity to share our findings from the day with everybody here.
We do indeed, and we are excited to take you through the show. We are going to get straight into it, though, because, as I said earlier, I caught up with the scrutineering lot from GEDLICH Racing. Well, we're here in Valencia down at the scrutineering bay for the Winter Series, and I'm delighted to say we have two of our scrutineers who have been working hard all season long, who are going to take us through the process. I've got Nuno and Manu next to me. Nuno, just tell us about what goes on in the scrutineering bay, what you guys are looking for.
Okay, so in the scrutineer box we do two different jobs. So the first one is safety, that it's most important for the drivers and for all of us. And then we have the balance of performance, is managed by SRO, Stefan Retail organization. And we do, in this platform, we check the weight, the height from the ground, the cambers, and the aerodynamic device. That's what we check technically in the car. In the safety, we check the harness, the buckets, the lights, and the numbers of the car, so that's almost important, and all the stickers mandatory from the promoter. So that's what we do exactly in this area.
Yeah, we can see the car on the scale in the background. Manu, for you, when there are issues, when the car isn't according to the regulations, what do you do then?
It depends. We have two different scenarios, depending on if we are during the previous scrutineering. The teams are on time to repair or to solve all the issues. But if we are during an official session, such as qualifying or race 1, race 2, race 3, we prepare a report with all the information, the article, mandatory, why, when, and we prepare this report for the stewards. So the stewards can decide if it is a penalty or whatever they decide.
Thank you very much. Yeah, fascinating stuff. You guys are very, very busy down here, but we do have a car on the scale right now. I just need to be a little bit careful not to trip over the scale. And the car is being driven this weekend by the man alongside me now, Jan Jurger from GEDLICH Racing. This is your first weekend in GT racing. Yes. Just tell us about kind of how much fun you're expecting things to be out there.
Yeah, it's just a great experience for me. So I don't have that much driving time in race cars until now. Yeah, like it's a big step. Last year I started with TCR car in the ASEAN at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and getting in the Cup Porsche, it's a really, really big step. it's a really fast car, and I have the chance to start in our own racing series in the GTWinterSeries. It's like, it's just wow. So I'm really nervous and excited at the same time, and looking forward for the race.
Yeah, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of fun out there. Just tell us about your role at GEDLICH as well, and sort of how you're combining that with the racing this weekend. You must be very busy.
Yes, so normally I'm the guy who organizing and selling the slots to our customers, and now it's like I'm selling the spots for Winter Series, and now I'm driving against our customers. So it's really different situation, like a normal weekend for me, because normally you are in the grid and talking to the drivers, and now I'm one of the drivers you're talking with, so it's really crazy. But I think it's really good to see, I can see both sides. So normally I only see the things from outside, and now I'm with the team, I can see what they have to do, what the drivers see, and I can see both sides. So it's really good to work better, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You're seeing things from a whole new perspective as well. You had a little bit of testing earlier in the weekend. How have you found the track so far?
Just crazy. So I got the most riding time. So let's say it. It's the first time that I drive in real here in Valencia. I only drive the track in the simulator. But it's a big difference. The track is the same, but there's so much other things you feel in the car that you can't see or feel in the simulator, so it's just amazing, yeah.
Well, the car looks good, and it is being looked at by the scrutineers in the background. We can't wait to see it out on track this weekend in Valencia.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
Amateur drivers are a huge part of GT and sports car racing all over the world, including the GT and GT4 Winter Series. For these individuals, racing is a hobby, a pursuit of leisure, albeit a competitive one. These drivers, typically categorised as bronze by the FIA, are usually expected to be a step behind the career-motivated young starlets and the established professionals. However, that's not always the case, as displayed by several members of this year's GT and GT4 grids. Ravi Ramyeed has often found himself fighting for overall podiums in the GT4 Winter Series and has quickly ascended through the ranks of GT competition in the UK alongside his teammate Charlie Robertson. Now he is increasingly expanding his racing efforts into Europe, but what does he do away from the circuit?
Hi, my name's Ravi Ramyeed and I drive for L'Espace Bienvenue with the BMW with our technical partner Racetivity. So obviously this is just my hobby and I'm lucky enough to probably do about 50 days a year in the car. But when I'm not in the car, as you'll see, we've got Skills Alliance written on the side of the car. And that is the business that I'm involved with. Skills Alliance is a recruitment company fundamentally. It was started in 2002. And the latter part, it became a drug testing consultancy. So we recruit drug testers into big pharmaceutical companies, and we run big drug testing projects as well, the likes of the drugs that came out in COVID, heart drugs, cancer drugs, various bits and pieces. So anything that a doctor will dispense, if you're in a degree of trouble with your health, we are involved somewhere in that process to make sure that when it gets to you, it doesn't kill you, and it actually does what it's supposed to do. So anyway, when I'm not doing that, I do this. I absolutely love this to bits. Driving this car is absolutely wonderful, and I'm really privileged to spend, 10 to 15 weeks of the year doing it.
Also in the GT4 Winter Series, Tim Horrell has already taken an overall victory in his Pro-Am W&S Porsche, alongside Frederik Zabis. The reserved American routinely matches the pace of silver drivers and has impressed many in the paddock so far in 2026.
Hi, my name's Tim Horrell, driver of the Porsche GT4 Cayman. And when I'm not at the track, I am doing sim racing, the gym, and I'm also the stock markets. So I first got into the stock world. It was a while after I got hurt and I tried to go back to school and it wasn't working. So I met a family friend who helped me get into the stock market world and learn from him, the financial planner, to become an investor. And now I do some of the investments on my own and I also have his help. So yeah, that's amazing what I do in my free time. Definitely felt really good winning it overall as a Pro-Am driver. It's making me feel like all the work I'm putting into this is really coming to fruition, and because I want to be on the top, and I don't really worry about the class. I just want to compete overall and win overall. So it was definitely a great step towards where I know I can be and where I want to be.
Hi, I'm Simon Orange. I race the McLaren 720 GT3 for Orange Racing by JMH. I do that in my spare time as a hobby because my day-to-day business is running a company called Corpac, which acquires industrial businesses. I think we're up to about 60 at the minute, and that is a full-time job. Also, in case I have any other spare time, I'm the majority shareholder of Sale Sharks with my wife Michelle, and we spend a lot of time at the rugby also. Not really much spare time for racing and practicing, but we're getting as much in as we can.
For these drivers, meetings and deals are left at home, as Simon explains.
Racing's pretty handy actually, because as I'm sure you know, there's probably only 2 or 3 practices or races qualifying in a day. So I've got a truck with a nice facility in it, and in between races, when Marcus isn't giving me advice on how to go around quicker, I'm working as well. So I don't take much time off from Corpac. It's 24/7. Although I do enjoy when I'm on the track.
GEDLICH Racing's upcoming GT Summer Series will aim to create increased parity, as amateurs are set to receive balance of performance breaks versus young talents and professionals. This will ensure exciting battles between competitors of varied backgrounds that would be ranked in separate classifications elsewhere. But, especially for bronze drivers sharing a car with a pro, the biggest battle of all is sometimes with the other man in the garage. Simon Orange sees his pro Marcus Clutton as a measuring stick.
Although again, it has to be said, I think for most of last week and most of this week in the wet, I've been quicker than Marcus, so it's been the other way around. But this week I've been giving him some tips. I'm sure he'll enjoy that.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
I'm delighted to be joined here by a very, very experienced man in the world of motorsports, a motorsport legend in the form of Chris Nissen. Chris, you have probably been in thousands upon thousands of paddocks. I think this is probably one of your most laid-back visits. I understand you're just kind of getting a feel for what the Winter Series is all about. How are you finding it so far?
Well, so far I must say I have not seen a lot, only a lot of trucks and people coming very, very late because of this very sad cancellation of today. But actually I was also last year here in Valencia, and I think it's a great atmosphere. I really like this possibility of the winter series, that the teams, the drivers can sort of use the winter in a country or in countries where you normally have sun and good temperatures. Because if you do testing, let's say in Germany or maybe even in Denmark, in February, March, it's very cold and it's not really a proper result you can get. So the winter series is a great thing to have.
Yes, and you've been in a lot of paddocks in Europe, in Japan. You've been all over the map, in sports cars, in touring cars, in single-seaters. Tell us a little bit about the philosophy differences, because obviously the Japanese motorsport world is very different from what we have in Europe, and also even a touring car paddock is very different from, say, a Formula 3 paddock or sports cars.
Japan is hard for me to say because I've not been there for more or less 30 years. And I'm sure they have improved a lot. But at that time, it was a bit like we want to do it like they do in Europe. But they were like, in many situations, behind. Now, they had great racing, we had great cars. I was driving sports car there. That was also where I had my accident. And I think today the races in Japan, they must be more or less on the same level as we have in Europe. For the paddock, now I've spent quite a lot of time and years in Germany, and it's like we are running out of formal cars. All the formal cars are now running in the Formula 4, of course Formula 3 also, and Formula 2, which are at the Formula 1. So I really miss that. I think we in Germany, we miss the formal cars. And when I see them here, and also last year when I visit the race, it's great to see these young kids really trying to be already Formula 1 drivers. They're jumping around, they're warming up. We never did that. We went helmet on and in the car, and we went as fast as possible. And now they are acting like real professional racing drivers on a very high level, and it's nice to see that I think still the formal cars are the right school if you want to become a professional racing driver. I think really you must out of the kart when you are 14, 15 and into a Formula 4.
And your career obviously has gone well beyond racing. For over a decade, or just about a decade, you were the motorsport director at Volkswagen. When that time came to shift towards a more executive role, was that a challenge for you to kind of, I guess, switch mentalities?
I think I was very lucky to sort of step out of the race car. My last race was a 24-hour race at Nürburgring for Audi, and basically a couple of weeks later I started in Wolfsburg at Volkswagen. So I must say I never came into what many race drivers do. When they stop racing, they sort of, what do we do now? And we want to do nothing. And at the end, they come back to racing, most of them.
Yes.
But I had so much to do at Volkswagen. We had really long days, and we worked day and night to get this race touring ready for the Dakar. And we managed. And at the end also, we had a fantastic team, and we won more or less everything. We won 3 Dakars. We were the first to win with a diesel engine at the Dakar. It was a great time, but it was also a hard time.
Of course, and having had that executive experience, there are so many drivers in our paddock in the Winter Series and in the Summer Series later this year who are directors. They run businesses. You know, they have similar kind of executive roles. Does it surprise you when you look at some of those bronze drivers that they can juggle the kind of responsibilities maybe that you faced as an executive and racing?
I would like to say it this way: you can be a good race driver and maybe not a good manager, but you can also be a good racing driver and a good manager. And
Right.
I think I managed that quite well. Of course, I had a lot to learn, but I knew the company Volkswagen before I came. I was a test driver for them. We had this Lupo Cup where we had young drivers coming. So I knew most of the management and the mentality of this great German company, which was a big help. And today, since more than 10 years, we live in Switzerland. I have my own business. I do consulting for young drivers, for teams. But honestly, I don't want to do too much. I like to enjoy the life, play some golf, go fishing, and in the winter skiing. But I miss the motorsport, and this is also why I come to see all of you here. I like racing. I like the mentality of the people who are in love with racing, and I think it's a great sport.
Now, when you were driving, for example, in DTM with BMW, and then in that role of as motorsport director at Volkswagen, you were very aware, of course, of what goes into a factory motorsport program. Of course, a lot of programs now from factories are customer racing programs. So perhaps you could give us a little bit of insight into the difference between developing a car that's a full fat factory machine versus something that's for customers, for bronze-rated drivers potentially.
Yeah, I think that without factories at all, it's not possible today to do racing. And what I mean is it's a big team spending a lot of money making a GT3 car or GT4 car or whatever race car. And after they sell them or rent them out to the teams, and for the teams today, not having really money coming from Audi, BMW, Aston Martin, whatever, it's a tough time because they need to finance it by customers, pay drivers, young drivers where the parents or uncles are paying. It was, I think, easier in old days where we had Saxspeed and Schnitzer and other great teams because they had, they got the cars, the spare parts from the factory, they got some money, and then they were looking for some sponsors also. But we had more, I would say, the complete DTM grid were more or less paid drivers and professional drivers. And today it's like a combination. It's very good pool drivers from the different factories going to the teams or being sent to the team, but also there are drivers who are somehow paying for their drive.
And of course you also now mentor some young drivers, so you've been working with some Formula 4 talents and some youngsters to try and find their way up the ladder. Here at the Winter Series we have a lot of track time attached to the entry fee, so Thursday, Friday you're pretty much driving all day. A similar mentality will come into our Summer Series. Track time is so valuable to a young driver, isn't it, just to effectively find your footing in your early stages?
The last 2 years I have been involved in young Formula 4 driver, and I must say I was really surprised how much track time you need today. If I compare with old days when I was driving with Senna, Gerhard Berger and all these, Bernd Schneider, we did not at all have this amount of track time in the winter or during the summer, but it's necessary today. It's like somebody want to play golf, and if he's playing 1 time per week and play against others, and they play golf 6 times a week, he will have no chance. So it is it's something which has started years ago, and we cannot and we should not stop it. Of course, it also make, like if you take Kimi Antonelli, which for sure have done a fantastic job so far, but he also had a lot of track time in his Formula 4 car and
lots of track time.
And if you want today to be a professional racing driver, normally you already are looking for that when you are like 19, 20 years old, maybe even younger. And to have the experience and to be able to do a professional job, you need a lot of track time, testing with professional guiding, and you need a lot of races. And now we come again back to the winter series. That means that we in Europe can race more or less 12 months a year.
It never stops. And of course, last question. Obviously, you're very aware of the GEDLICH name, because I think almost 30 years ago, in the late 90s, you actually were racing alongside Marcus GEDLICH, rivals in the DTC Championship. That's one of the beauties, isn't it, of going into a paddock? You always end up catching up with somebody from the past, and I guess it's you always stay in the network as long as you're in the paddock and get to meet these people.
It is incredible. When I go from box 1 and up to the last box, I meet more or less in each box. I see people waving to me, and I mean, I'm 65 now, and some of them are maybe 60 or 72. Mechanics, race engineers. It's a big family. I must say, many of the young people, for sure, they're doing a great job, but they do not really know me so much, and I do not know them. But I have not been to a paddock any time in my life without meeting people I have met in racing. Some of them have been mechanics for me, some have been whatever, and I already like that. I enjoy it. I think it's good. The motorsport family is a good family.
I absolutely agree with that, and I'm delighted to have met you for the first time. Meeting Chris, an example that here in the GEDLICH Racing Winter Series, we never know who we might find. An honour to speak to him, and of course, so many other people from the Winter Series paddock.
Well, we're here in the race control room, a place that we don't often get to see throughout the weekend. But one person that does see plenty of this room is Neus alongside me now, the race director for the Formula Winter Series. Just tell us how you got into race directing and how long you've been a race director.
So I've been a race director since I was 20. So for the last 10 years, which sounds crazy to say it right now. But I've started doing it because my dad was into motorsport. He was an official. He was a marshal on the racetrack in Barcelona. He stepped into being a race director. So since I was a kid, like that was my way of seeing motorsport. Like I would watch it on TV with my dad, analyzing everything. And then whenever we went to racetracks, it was me like watching from outside race control, thinking maybe one day we'll do it. And I always thought I was going to be doing it as a volunteer, so spending my free time doing it, and now I'm doing it professionally. So no, it's a really good place to be. I think it's what you said, like it's something that no one ever sees, like not even most of the drivers know how we operate inside race control. So it's good to have you here.
Well, we're going to get on to that in just a minute, but I mean, you must be really busy over the weekends, right? Just constantly doing things.
In the end, like here, like the amount of data that we get, it's crazy. It always depends from championship to championship, but the amount of data that we get, like only like on my laptop, just without looking at the screens, it's crazy. So the amount of people that you need to have inside this room, it's something that no one would think, like when they are watching a race, the amount of people that's sitting in here checking different stuff so the race can happen and everyone can safely do their job.
And for a role of a race director, for people who maybe aren't so familiar, what kinds of things are you doing?
So basically the most important part is where taking care of the safety on track, so for the drivers, also for the marshals. So on a weekend like what we have today, for example, with the wind, so what we were doing these 2 days of testing, we've been checking the meteo like 24/7 to see like how the wind was doing, the weather, the rain. We've had a lot of rain in Winter Series this year. So we're checking that so everything runs as smoothly as possible and the drivers are safe at all times. So from here we call any red flags, we stop any session if that needs to happen, or whenever we have to coordinate like rescues and stuff like that. So everything happens from here.
Well, we can see the screens in the background. You're going to take us through what we've got in front of us, because there are quite a few screens here.
Like here in Valencia, the good part that we have is that nothing goes uphill. Like this is not like Portimao. So the good thing we have is we have all of the screens in front of us with all of the layout of the racetrack. And then if we just turn around, we have pretty nice balcony in which we can see everything like real life, what's happening, which is like really good. For example, for a rolling start, like when we do the GTs, it's really like nice to be like here on the outside or just like standing watching from behind to see all of their grid formation and how they do the start. And usually then the layout that we have in front of us, it's mostly like here in Valencia, the main topic is always track limits. So we get like specific big cameras to check on track limits. And then on the other side, we have like the full layout of the racetrack. So there's not any blind spot anywhere. So if anything happens, we can see it. And then we also have all of the LED panels that they have on track. So we get a repeater in front of all of us. So if the radio doesn't work or the message doesn't work, we can see always in real time what they can see, what the drivers can see on track.
It's fascinating stuff. I mean, you really do have eyes everywhere, and then you've got data as well down here as well. I mean, the data that you have is endless.
So basically, as race directors, we operate from these two laptops. So either myself for Formula Winter Series or Dino for the GT Winter Series and the prototypes. So we get laptop in which we can put all of the messages that then the driver, well, the teams can see. Also, we can operate all of the flags around the track, which is really good because that system is connected to the own LED panels that the marshals have on track. So as soon as they put it on track, we also get it on a timing system, so the teams can also react real time. And then we also can see everything that the teams see. So basically results, all of the messages, and then the track limits, which is which is mainly one of the great things that we have. And then we also can see, which is one of the new stuff that we've had these last 2 years. We can see the track limits like real time, so we can get them and see like that's the whole list of track limits, and then we can go and check video by video how wide they go, if it's the cars that we get. So whenever a team comes complaining or asking for images,
you've got the evidence right in front of you.
So then it makes our lives easier, team managers' lives easier, to compare what they get on the onboards to what we see from race control. And I think it's really good that they get to see how we operate inside, because I think there's sometimes that they just think we're sitting somewhere watching all of your live stream, and that's the only thing that we see. But then I think when they get to see the amount of like viewpoints that we see, then it's when they get scared of like maybe if we do whatever, like they will catch us for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you can literally see absolutely everything. And as you say, it's really great to have that understanding, because it's something that the drivers and teams maybe don't get all the time. And then when they come up and they see and you know, you see exactly how much stuff you've got, it is absolutely fascinating. I mean, a busy job, but it sounds like one that you absolutely love as well.
No, like completely. Like I always say, like I love sitting here, like being in charge of all of it. In the end, it's not just this. Then we get the app, that's the constant feedback from all of the teams. But I think like sitting here and seeing the races from here gives you a completely different perspective from anything else.
Yeah, as you say, a completely different perspective, and a completely different perspective for our viewers as well. Thank you so much for taking us through that. And the next time you watch a race, you'll know what's going on in the race control.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
Well, we're here in Valencia this weekend, and I'm delighted to say that I'm joined by both Marcus Gedlich and Robin Selbach from GEDLICH Racing. Guys, it's great to have you here. There is a new venture on the horizon for the company, the GT Summer Series. Robin, let's start with you. Just tell us, what is the GT Summer Series?
Yes, the GT Summer Series is our new series, which brings the Winter Series environment to the summer. And it is especially made for gentleman drivers who appreciate a good organization but an affordable sporting level, and also for young guns who are not ready yet for higher sporting competitions.
So it sounds like a really exciting series. What makes it different from championships that already exist?
We really aim to the gentleman drivers. So we have a BOP, for example, which gives them better opportunities to be competitive compared to a silver or gold driver. And we do a lot of stuff around. It's not just racing, it's our own paddock with a very good atmosphere, with good hospitality, and a lot of media stuff around, which Marcus will explain later on.
And for you, Marcus, why is it the right time to start the Summer Series now?
We thought a lot about this, and we believe it's exactly the right moment because there's a big gap in Central European GT racing. This is what we are told from our customers, but also can see ourselves in the environment of racing series. There are amateur-focused racing series, but they are, in our eyes, a bit old-fashioned. And we want to bring young blood and, well, the 21st century media-wise to GT racing and to the GT amateurs. And this is why I believe it was never a better moment than now.
And Robin mentioned that it's going to be an all-encompassing paddock. I've heard a lot about the Heroes Arena. Just tell us what that's going to be.
Well, the idea came up because we are lacking a bit of grid time on the track. If it was my choice, we'd have 1 hour of grid time on track, but of course that's not possible because track time is very expensive and other series want to compete in the same event as well. So what we did is transfer the grid into the paddock in a big fenced area and not only show the grid there, but also other things like sponsor presentations, team presentations, driver interviews. So you can imagine anything there. It's like a forum that's going to be open all day. So everybody who wants to show himself, his sponsor, his partner, anything to the outside, to public, he can do it in the Heroes Arena. And the reason why it's called that way is that we believe that everybody who contributes to good racing, starting from the cook to mechanics to tire manager, up to drivers and team managers, they are our heroes. That's why it's called that way. So show them and let people know what they do all day long.
Well, it sounds like it's going to be a really exciting opportunity for teams and drivers, but you haven't forgotten about the fans either, because you have the fan cam as well. Just tell us about that.
Absolutely. The fan cam is on duty to bring the fans into the paddock, into the tents, into the pits, to the drivers, to the teams. Live streams are great, and we're going to have it in GT Summer Series. But this is not sufficient. We want to bring people closer, not only to the racing action, to the driving itself, but to the people interacting with racing. And this is what the fan cam is going to do. the fan cam will take the fan, bring him to the actors, to the heroes, not only in the heroes arena, but also in their tents, in their trucks, and show the action happening behind the scenes.
Yeah, so they can kind of really get up close and personal with the fantastic paddock. I mean, I'm hugely excited for the series. I'm sure you guys are as well. And it's getting underway very, very shortly. It's pretty much as soon as we're done in the Winter Series. So you'll be very busy, I'm sure, but excited to see so many fans at the track.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
Well, great to hear about the summer series, and we will get into that shortly. But of course, we are in the middle of the winter series, so let's start with that. I think it's a good time for us to have a little bit of a mid-season review, isn't it, Andy? I mean, I can't quite believe that we're already at the midpoint of the season.
It's flown by, hasn't it? It's, been a bit of a rapid run through those first few weekends. And, this happens every time we get to Valencia, I feel, the mid part of the season. You suddenly realise, oh, hang on, we're almost as close to the end as we are the start. Time to start really looking at championship standings and, who the form drivers have been. And that's always the part of a championship that I really enjoy. So excited that I'm going to be there as well for the final 2 rounds this year and see how it all plays out as we get into the nitty-gritty of the championship fights.
Well, we're excited to have you there for the final 2 rounds. And Adam, as Andy said, it's been a really kind of rapid start to the season, but that is why people like the Winter Series, isn't it? There's no better testing than racing.
Well, you witnessed me realising it was the 4th event of the year on the car on Thursday. So, yeah, it does go by quickly, but it's kind of like cramming for an exam in a way, especially for the F4 kids, because in a lot of cases they will have not sometimes even seen the car, much less driven it prior to showing up to the first round of the season. And, yeah, it's a lot of knowledge all accumulated at once. And oftentimes, if you learn something and then you don't apply it, it kind of leaves your head a little bit. So something that they discovered on Sunday at Portimao, they could now apply on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday at Valencia. So that kind of condensed format, while it can be a little bit arduous for the teams, for the drivers, for the personnel, it's still very beneficiary.
Absolutely, and let's start with the Formula Winter Series then, as you mentioned it there. Of course, every year in the Formula Winter Series we have so many rookies on our grid taking their first steps out of karting into car racing. It is sometimes a bit of a baptism of fire, but they've certainly put on a show for us.
I have really enjoyed Formula Winter Series. I enjoyed it last year as well, you know, seeing these youngsters coming in, and really now it's a big step up from whatever they've been doing nationally to now go and race in Europe in a Formula 4 spec car. It's a great shop window for them to put themselves into, and it is remarkable that year after year it's those with the least experience in those cars who very often seem to find themselves at the sharp end. Of course, we've seen that with Dries van Langendonk this year. You know, his championship situation is pretty healthy. He's come through all of the chaos, let's be honest, of the first 2 rounds, changeable conditions, topsy-turvy grids, a couple of dramas even for Dries himself, but he's come out with this healthy championship lead, and you know, he came in, as did a lot of these drivers, with the backing of Formula 1 teams, for example, with a lot of pressure on their shoulders, and to Adam's point, they've got to learn everything that they've got to learn as they make that transition into single-seaters in such a short space of time, and they're all very aware of how important it is that they do perform, and yeah, Dries in particular really has performed exactly as we all kind of thought he might.
Yeah, I said to him last weekend, you know, the story of your season is a little bit turning into, well, it's all going on behind you, but for you, you're blissfully unaware, out in front and just doing what you need to do.
Yeah, I'm always a bit of a stat man, and this season it's 5 events for the first time in the Formula Winter Series. The most ever wins in a season is 5, and he's already 3 in, so I wouldn't mind betting that even before we get to round 5, he kind of breaks that record. But he's been stunning, absolutely. You always hear of these guys coming through the karting scene. I think I'm personally a little detached from karting world, but you'll hear names every now and then, and we're quite privileged this year to have heard Van Langendonk and Coronel in years previous as people to watch, and we're kind of getting that little preview, some early access of what to expect.
Yeah, we certainly are, and with Rocco in the Red Bull car and Dries in the McLaren liveried car, it's sort of feeling a little bit Formula 1-esque in a way, but on Adam's point, you know, Rocco Coronel, you've seen him in Gtws, and he came in and it didn't take him long to win a race in F4 either.
No, absolutely, they both came out of the blocks in that first weekend at Estoril pretty impressively. Dries I knew less about. Rocco, as you say, I followed him extensively last year in his pretty dominant Ginetta Junior Championship campaign, and it was never really in doubt to me that he had what it took to continue that form onto this stage, and he's absolutely delivered on that. His racecraft is just fantastic. That's what won him that Ginetta title last year. It's not that he was a second a lap quicker than everyone else. You can't really be in that category. It was the fact that he always knew when to make the move, drives with a very wise head on his shoulders, and I'm sure some of that does come, of course, from his father Tom, who I'm sure has passed on a lot of the experience he's garnered over the years, but Rocco making very much a name for himself now as well.
Yeah, and Rocco had the line of the season to me, I think. I said, how are you approaching this? He said, my number one thing, brake later. That's all I'm thinking, is just brake later, which we certainly have seen him do. Right, we move on to the GT4 Winter Series, because familiar faces at the top of the championship in SR's Enrico Federer and Joel Mesh. Both of them have come second in this championship before. Both of them are looking to change that this year, and it's looking pretty healthy for them.
It is, absolutely. It's a point of pride. You know, if you've both been vice champions before, there's that one goal. There's only going to be one goal. Of course, they've been slightly helped out that the pro class hasn't been the most consistent in terms of that class standings, but the overall standings, you've still got some very strong competitors in Pro-Am and in Am. So it's not been a cakewalk so far. I'm interested to see what happens here, though, because 12 months ago, that car was very strong here at Valencia.
Yeah, very strong. Won all 3 races in the hands of Enrico Federer, and it was Jamo Hertling that he was sharing the car with at that point. I mean, the Pro-Am fight, though, has equally been exciting. You know, we've had the likes of Willy Koenen, Cedric Fuchs fighting with Charlie Robertson and Ravi Ramyid, and it's given us some pretty spectacular battles, and not to forget Tim Horrell as well.
It's hard to forget Tim Horrell when it comes to GT4 Winter Series. He's been one of the absolute stars of the show, and he's not the only AM driver who's been mixing it with the pros, but I think probably the most notable, and the performances that he was putting in, back at Portimao when he was doing so well, leading a race and an unfortunate mechanical issue, but then able to bounce back and show it wasn't just a fluke. He's been quick in every single race. The WNS Porsche has been quick in every single race. And yeah, the L'Espace Bienvenu BMW squad as well, Charlie and Ravi, looking ahead to their GT4 European campaign. They've been really strong too. It's fascinating to see, particularly it seems to happen in Winter Series, the bronze graded drivers that really are able to take to this quite well and really mix it with those pros. I'm sure the pros are looking over their shoulder thinking, hang on, I shouldn't be really battling with you for a race win. The AM drivers are absolutely loving it because they get to come here, a little bit of pressure off their shoulders maybe. Yes, it's a chance to prepare for the season ahead, but I think they do sort of let themselves loose a little bit here and show us exactly what they can do.
Yeah, they certainly have done. And just a word quickly on Tom Pappenberg as well, because what a debut for him. What a birthday for him as well, He did so well on his 15th birthday.
Yeah, I was stunned to find out exactly how young he was. He told me in the hospitality, and my eyes widened a little bit. He's got some great tutelage as well from Nico Verdonk, who's one of those drivers who's probably done it all and seen it twice in motorsport. He's got quite the wing to be under there, and he's done a lot of testing as well, not to detract from these early weekends that we've seen, but he has got a lot of experience for a man his age, his age, realistically speaking. But yeah, I've been really impressed with Tom. You never know quite what to expect from someone on their first weekend with the lights on, the cameras rolling, but yeah, he's been great.
He certainly has. Well, we move from the GT4s now to the GT Winter Series, and it is once again familiar names on top of Haya and Hartling, the 2024 overall champions, and they're looking at the moment like they might do it again.
They've just been super consistent, haven't they? Which you would expect for SR Motorsport, really. They've been here, as you say, and done it all before. They are a very consistent driver pairing, tend to stay out of trouble largely, although I do seem to recall them having some issues at Valencia last year. I'm sure they'd be willing to gloss over that. But yes, consistency is what wins you the GT Winter Series. You have lots of other teams that come and go and maybe don't do the full season, but they're still capable of winning races when they turn up. And SR have done a good job of establishing themselves as the front runners, but it's a narrow margin they've got over the Orange Racing by JMH pairing. Simon Orange, only 6 points between them and Simon Orange and Marcus Clutton, and again a pairing that are getting stronger and stronger every year they put in together. Simon as an AM driver getting quicker and quicker. Marcus, I've always known, is an extremely talented and extremely underrated pro driver, and they're nipping at the heels of SR, and it would be a heck of an achievement actually if they could come in and beat them in a series that SR have made their own before.
Yeah, it certainly would be. I mean, it keeps things exciting for us as well, just how strong Orange and Clutton are tending to be, and, anything can happen towards the end of the season.
That's one of my favourite things about the Winter Series, is there is always an overall championship to consider, of course, lest we forget the overall points are scored by class, so we could yet see someone from another class swoop in and take it away. But you get those full season battles and you mark out those favourites, but then every weekend there's a surprise. If it was pro wrestling, someone's music hits, they're here, okay. It's kind of like that. We of course have Haupt coming in and out. We've got Enxler, I think, all season, but they're kind of mix and matching their driver lineups. You've got some of the leading teams in GT racing here, and we get the best of both worlds. We get some pick and mix every weekend, but we also have the set menu.
I like that. I like the way you put that. Fantastic. Right, boys, I mean, we have a double header to finish the season. Of course, you haven't been to Motorland Aragon before. What are you looking forward to for the rest of the season?
Looking forward, as I said, to seeing how the championships pan out. The last couple of rounds of a championship, that's what really gets my juices flowing. I love a good point spreadsheet. I love, when the pressure's on, seeing who can really perform. And across all of the series that we've discussed, that's definitely going to be, I think there's going to be a few nail biters there for sure. Aragon, I've heard great things about. It's a track I've always wanted to go and visit, so looking forward to that. And Barcelona, where better to round out the season. It's a brilliant circuit. We've had some cracking racing racing there and big grids in the past as well. The Spanish leg always does seem to bring a few more people out to play. So yeah, hope that continues again this season.
And as quickly as the Winter Series is over, the Summer Series will be beginning. What an exciting challenge on the horizon for GEDLICH Racing as well.
And challenge is the word, you know, it's massively exciting, but they're also, I go into the office and they're doing emails and exchanges and phone calls about the Summer Series. It can't be understated how hard that little team of guys works, and it is, you know, 10 to 12 people, I think, at most times. And yeah, they do fabulous stuff, and I think it's going to be a privilege to be there about a month later to not quite do it all again, because it will be a slightly different cast of characters, but we'll get to see some familiar faces and kind of a new flavour of GEDLICH Racing.
Well, we can't wait to see how the Winter Series and the Summer Series turn out.
It's been an absolute pleasure to welcome one of the most renowned GT teams in Europe into the Winter Series this year, HRT, the Hout Racing team. Laurent Fedacou, who is the technical director of HRT, joins me here. Laurent, great to have you here. What brings you to the Winter Series?
Hello everybody, first of all. We are here mostly to train the young drivers. This series is really perfectly done for young drivers with the 4 times 1 hour training on the Thursday, Friday, and the 3 races. So we are able to train DTM, we are able to train GT Masters, basically with the different format of the races. And I think the most important is the training. With these 4 times 1 hours, we can really prepare the hour properly in terms of driving, look at the data afterward, change the setup if it's needed on the driving point of view. And on the car perspective and the car development, we are able also to change kinematic, change setups, and from session to session develop the car. So for us, we are coming there since a long time. All the winters, it's a very nice series. And yeah, mostly developing the young drivers, developing the new car. We have been testing the Evo last week on the summer days before Portimao 6 hours. So yes, very important part of the development for the drivers and the car over the winter.
You mentioned the car, obviously. This is a relatively new partnership between HRT and Ford. It's a fantastic car. It's a real fan favourite, a favourite of mine too. But is it a challenging car? It's quite different to a lot of other GT3 machinery.
Yes, basically we started the collaboration 1.5 years ago in November with this fantastic car. We will have an Evo for 2026 with a lot of different parts that we are testing right now. The weather was a bit difficult since January, so we try to do the most of it. Yes, this car is a lot of power. It's a very fantastic car. It's a big car. We are working mostly on cinematics and make sure that we are scanning the new car and we are able to extract the most of it and extract the setup for 2026 on the different variation of the championship. It can be DTM or GT Masters. Yes, a lot of work on the front of us. Just make sure that the scan is done properly, that the conditions are there, that we try to run as much as possible on dry condition with high grip, just try to extract the most of the performance of the car.
What would you say is the biggest difference between the Mustang and cars that the team have had more experience with? Is there one area in particular you're working on?
At the moment, we will have a brand new aerodynamics and new suspensions. And yes, like I tell you before, it's mostly cinematic scans what we are doing. Just make sure that we have a proper platform control.
Excellent. Well, it's great to have you here. We're all really enjoying the sight and the sound of the car, and to have a team like HRT in the Winter Series is really great to see. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
We look forward to having them back out on track.
we have this incredible BMW Z4 GT3 in the paddock, and it's courtesy of Marcus and Christoph Unhausen in this Classic and Speed team. Let's talk about how we ended up with this car, because of course the GT3 historic racing scene is growing. You're a very big part of historic racing, Marcus, but what led you to get a BMW Z4 specifically?
Well, I bought in 2012 an Audi R8 GT3 LMS Ultra straight from the podium, a car which was driven by Lotterer, Stippler and Mies. And then I drove it a bit, and then basically with the vintage GT3s you couldn't drive anymore. And then last year the MRL, the Motor Racing Legends series, came out with a new series called GT3 Legends. So I went there to Silverstone to the first race, and I was lucky I got on the podium. And then straight afterwards I said I have to buy a BMW, because this is a car from a comic strip, and it's like a little muscle car, and it's cool. It's a bit like my old Race E-Type. So I got that car, and we're really happy about it.
Of course, ex-British GT car, and you were at Silverstone in August, and I understand you got some visits from the original drivers.
That's true. Joe Osborne came and said, "Oh, this is my old car, and how fabulous it's there." And he was really proud of seeing it again, and we are really proud to put it again back on the track.
And of course, you took the car out, you had your first experiences of it, and then that young man, Christoph, said, "Dad, I quite like the car," and you said, "Okay, let's see, let's give you a go." And Christoph, very quickly, you went from trying the car for the first time to doing your first proper races in something this powerful and this crazy. What a journey it's been for you.
I mean, it's completely insane to believe that. I started exactly almost 1 year ago, exactly at this track in Portimao. I took the Audi for a spin, and I mean, the Audi is a bit more chill. It's a really nice, relaxing GT3 car, and the Z4 goes completely crazy on the back. I mean, you've got so much torque, and the sound is obviously immaculate. And then I had my first race in Silverstone, which was quite challenging but very interesting, and I had so much fun. And then I had my second and third race in Spa, and that was much better because I knew the car a bit better, had some little tests, and now this is my actual first season, and let's see what's gonna come.
And you've got this interesting dynamic here with us in the GTWinterSeries, where you're in the GTX class, so you're in a separate classification, but of course you're racing modern-day GT3s, modern-day Ferrari Challenge, Porsche Cup cars. It's going to be an interesting, I guess, test of you and where the car stacks up against its modern counterparts.
Yeah, exactly. It's super interesting. I mean, the faster GT3 cars, there are obviously some pro drivers. They're on another level. I try to match a bit my speed, but I mean, they've got another speed on the torque. But what I really like is I just try to challenge them sometimes to also make it difficult for them to overtake me, and I will make it also difficult in the race. I'll try. And but it's super interesting because I mean, now they've got the modern GT3 cars. In 2027 there's gonna be a new generation of GT3 cars, so they will be the historic cars in a couple of years as well. So
I look at this car, I look at the form of it, I look at the short wheelbase, I look at the fact that it started life as a roadster road car. I think to the fact that it has a V8 that the road car never had originally, and of course it now has a hardtop. To me, the BMW Z4 GT3 reminds me a lot of the AC Cobra, whether it's the 289 or the 427, of course. But the AC Cobra, one of the most revered, respected and valuable 60s GT cars, and it really wouldn't surprise me if in 20, 30 years' time we're telling similar stories about the GT3 spec BMW Z4. How amazing to have it here in the Winter Series. Furthermore, what else amazing can we get into the GT Winter Series? In the GTX class, within reason, anything goes. This is just one example of the many exciting cars we could welcome into the GEDLICH Racing Winter Series.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
Well, a very important aspect of any motorsport weekend is, of course, the timing. And I've come up to timekeeping here in the race control tower to have a chat with Alex about just what you are doing over a weekend, because you guys are very, very busy. Just take us through the operation up here.
Yeah, thank you. The most important thing for us is actually just keeping the line. That is our core business of timing. That the main line is that one we always have the line, our eyes on, and when we have a vehicle that is coming and passing the line, always have a picture that we can prove that everybody that has passed here, and all cars that is passing is equipped with a transponder that makes out a small radio signal, and when that radio signal is coming to the line, we are picking up through a decoder, and that's how we get our passings. And then we have several lines on the track, so we can do sector timing, we can do pit in, we do pit out. So when they do the endurance race, they need to be in the pit lane for X seconds, and then we can pick that up and see, yeah, that was too fast, and then we go to the stewards and tell them that, yeah, we have been having a naughty boy here that he has to work with. That is one of the aspects. The other thing is that track limits, which has been a big thing the last couple of years when it comes to racing, and there we also have a camera system that will pick up when a car goes out, and then when we have that detection, we also is able to see the number of the car, and then we just assign it and tell the stewards that, yeah, we have a car that's been on the wrong side of the line.
So what are some of the challenges that you guys come across in terms of keeping everything running smoothly?
I would say mainly the first thing is to set it up. When you come to a different track with the networking and see to that we are coming into the track's network, that we can do our networking as well. That is a major big thing of it. And when we do the big events like this one, is to set up with the track limits, and also when we have the GPS timing and everything, to put up all the hardware around the track and see to that everything is adjusted and aligned and have the same configuration on everything. That is the big thing is before everything starts, is to set up. And then, of course, testing. The first day is testing that everything is done. And then on a Thursday, we are ready in the morning at 9 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. And every track is different. And as you say, this one, the challenge is getting those track limits. So you really do need that set up.
Yeah, on this track, we have 4 turns that we're doing with cameras, and we have 2 turns that are doing with marshals. Mm-hmm. And everything has to be done live. So the teams do not need to wait for a half an hour after the race. And yeah, we had 24 extra track limits, so everything has to smooth in one fast direction for everyone.
Yeah, I can imagine it's a very fast-paced job. How long have you been doing this kind of thing? And is it second nature now? You turn up to a track and you sort of know where everything is going to fall?
No, we start with the first part of it. Timing us so, they've been doing since the end of the 80s. Mm-hmm. Back in those days, it was not like this. That was just with the clock and everything. Today, the big thing is the data and everything. But no, it's still not second nature. It will never be, because as you said and asked, that every track is having its differences, and every promoter is having specialities that is different from all kind of other series. So there's nothing such as click and go.
Yeah.
That's not how it is. It's really a specialty for each different promoter and how they're doing it.
Yeah, it sounds like you constantly need to be adapting to each situation and each series, as you say. But I'm sure hugely enjoyable at the same time.
Oh, we still enjoy it. That's the main reason why we're doing it. So yeah, it's a joy always. Okay, some days when we have been traveling for 18, 19 hours and still need to go to a track, yeah, those we don't talk about.
Well, we couldn't go racing without you. Thank you so much for showing us your operation up here and keeping us in time.
We will try our best.
Welcome back to Valencia. I'm joined here in our studio by Charlie Robertson and Ravi Ramid, who we will be seeing out in the L'Espace Bienvenu BMW in GT4 Winter Series. But Charlie and Ravi, our paths have crossed for many a year back in the UK, through Gtws, through British GT. Charlie, we'll start with you. Your racing resume sort of speaks for itself, but you know, the fact that you've managed to make a successful career out of GT racing, that's something that, you know, from a very young age, you very much had your eye on.
Of course, from first stepping in a go-kart, 8 years old, all I wanted to do was race cars for a living and be able to make a career from it. I've come through the Ginetta ladder. That's where I started in my car racing career and built a reputation there. And then more recently moved into GT stuff, met Ravi in 2022 probably. We started working together with a clear vision to try and really make progress and achieve some great things in GT racing. So this is probably year 4 of our journey. It's been a pretty cool journey so far. Learnt a lot, and it's super rewarding to do that and to be able to go home and say that I make a career from the sport that I love is something that I'm proud of.
And Ravi, he mentions year 4 working together. In my mind, you alone have been around for so much longer than that. The way that you've rocketed up through the ranks, absolutely remarkable. You must sort of look back at those early days and think, wow, how quickly you've made it onto the international scene and really making a name for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you know, there were a lot of shunts in the early days, Andy, let's be honest.
I wasn't going to mention that.
But you got to start somewhere. I mean, I came to it quite late in life. I've got a background in snow sports, and I think the balance your body has between snowboarding and driving is quite transferable. Mm-hmm. So that helped with picking it up. So I picked that up quite quickly. I think got into it, met Charlie, decided that you've got to take instruction and learn and work it all out, and that's what we did. And we spent a lot of time doing that. And yeah, it has come together quite quickly, but there's been a lot of hard work that's gone into it. And, you know, yeah, we've got our eyes on some much bigger things than what we're doing now. But, you know, it's a journey and you've just got to put the time and the hours in and it tends to come good for you, you know.
And it's very much those plans for the relatively near future that bring you both to the GT4 Winter Series, plans to race in Europe in GT4 with L'Espace Bienvenu this year. How does racing in the GT4 Winter Series sort of tie into your pre-season prep for that?
Well, this year it's especially relevant because it follows a very similar format to the European season, shares some of the circuits, being Portimao, and also some of the teams that we're racing against. So last year we used it just as a bit of winter training and getting us sharp for the season ahead. This year is the same, but we've also got added relevance with the guys that we're racing against. Also, it's nice to come out and race in the winter sun, to be honest, so that's always good.
And Ravi, obviously for Charlie, racing internationally, not a new thing. For you, does this feel like a big step forward, or are you reasonably confident that it's the right time?
Yeah, it's the right time. I mean, you know, now with simulated technology, you can get your head around a circuit quite quickly, well, within a week, yeah. And then when you come here, usually by just after lunch, you are there or thereabouts where you need to be. So you can get on the pace quite quickly. It helps having Charlie available as well, you know, but that's just it. But no, it's not daunting. And it's the next step. I mean, having done 2 or 3 years in the UK, it's nice to go somewhere new. weather's better here, the food's better, the sun shines. Do you know what I mean? The circuits are more purpose-built. Yes, UK circuits are very testing, but it's nice to have a different environment to race in and having different people and bigger grids.
Absolutely so, and as I said, the circuit's certainly something you're not necessarily learning, Charlie, but to come here now, not only trying to make sure you're performing to the best of your abilities, but helping Ravi through that as well. What are the sort of main things that you try and approach differently maybe now that you are racing on this, European level?
Well, the biggest thing is the tracks are quite new to both of us. Some of the tracks I haven't raced on before, some of them I have. Like, for example, when we go into the European season, we'll be going to Monza. None of us have been there before. Right. We really try and utilise simulator stuff, as Ravi said before. That's probably our biggest tool that we use. I reckon we're on there 4 to 5 times a week, pounding round and round and round, doing laps, but also racing each other. And that's what we found really has sort of levelled both of our games up, really, is just racing each other on the simulator. Right. So, I mean, the racecraft element is, it's easy, not easy, but, the easiest bit to do is to drive a lap fast, right, and learn a circuit. But suddenly when you're under pressure from 2 or 3 other cars, it changes the game completely. And we kind of locked onto that, I'd say, at the start of last year and really focused on developing that. And now when I look at Ravi, for example, racing in this series, he holds his own with the silvers. He's pulling great overtakes off. And some of the other AM drivers haven't quite got that in the locker yet. And I think that's what we're trying to develop is a skill in that, and that will hopefully, we'll see the benefits of that when we get to the European season.
And of course, that's one of the great things about racing in the Winter Series. It's not just pre-season testing. You do get to get out there and get stuck into the battles, which we've seen both of you doing, Ravi particularly through the season. It's been an interesting season so far, hasn't it? And it does seem like you're very much getting stuck in. And as Charlie quite rightly said, the pace you've got to be pretty happy with so far.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully, pace has never really been an issue. It's been all the other stuff, and it's just learning what to do in given situations and reading the body language of the car in front, and the judgment of braking and where to stick your nose and when not to stick your nose in places. And as I said, that all comes. But it's like learning any sport, picking up a racket or putting a set of skis on or a snowboard on. There is a learning process that comes with it. But once it's in, you can sort of take that to a circuit, and you can rely on your experience to do something. And it's weird how it plays out, but coming here and doing it is fantastic. It's like you couldn't ask for anything better.
We love having you here, we really do, and we've loved having a chance to chat to you, and I'm sure you're itching to get back out there and race this weekend. Thank you very much for taking some time out of your day to come and see us, and we'll see how Ravi and Charlie get on over the rest of the GT4 Winter Series.
We've been very familiar over the last few years of the Winter Series with Muka Motorsport, and I'm delighted to say that Stefan Muka is here with us. Of course, team manager, but a very, very experienced driver as well. Obviously today, Stefan, we're in some unique circumstances. Have you ever experienced a wind cancellation previously?
Actually not. So in my 25 years of racing time, this is the first time actually. I've had snow in many places, especially on the Nordschleife, a lot of rain, but due to wind, not really. So, but there's always a first time that to hear it, I mean, it's for safety reasons. Everybody can understand. We've been out yesterday. We will be out tomorrow. So we had some time to make the car preparation, and now we are looking forward and hope we get some good racing tomorrow.
And of course, you've been to this circuit before. We were talking just before we started chatting that you raced here at the 2007 Le Mans Series with Charouz in an LMP1 car. Obviously, not much has changed in the 20 years other than maybe some new tarmac. So what do you think of this circuit?
I really like it. I've been actually out on the circuit with this car on Thursday for some testing, and I really like it. Yeah, it is. You can see the track, the cars on every place from the track. Yeah, so for the spectators, it's very good. But it's also a technical track. It's challenging. Yeah, and to develop drivers and improve that and coach them. Therefore, it's a very, very good track, and it's very enjoyable.
And of course, that's part of the format for the Winter Series, is that there's a lot of track time built into the entry fee to do just that, developing drivers, figuring out car setups, things like that. And there's a similar philosophy that will be applied to our Summer Series in 2026. And I understand that this very loud Aston Martin is going to make an appearance.
Yeah, so we decided, and especially Thilo Goose decided to enter that car also for the Summer Series, which is perfect. Yeah. So as you already said, the Winter Series is very good to prepare drivers, young talents for whatever is coming next in their racing career. and have also a season or a championship in the off time. And the same is for the summer series. Yeah? So I'm expecting there also a good mixture between upcoming young talents and gentleman drivers who want to race on good tracks in a good format, and especially also it's good that it's open to many kind of classes. Yeah, this Aston Martin is a previous generation GT4 car. Normally they are in storage and can't run anymore, and here they can go out. And for a gentleman driver and also a rookie, it's a cost-efficient entry into racing.
And obviously you've been instrumental in the development of Thilo as a driver. You've also been teaching him kind of how to handle things with a bit more downforce, because of course now he has a 2000s DTM machine as well. I suppose you've also had to do the same for people going from GT4 to GT3, as we often do in this series. What are the challenges to just kind of get the driver, I guess, to believe in the car?
Yeah, that is obviously then the next step. So the GT4 is a good starting point, where you can find the car or feel the car from the mechanical side. Of course, the aero on top is a completely different story then again. But the basic, that must be there. And for example, with Thilo, it's a very good example. We started at zero racing experience through a couple of years. Now he's on a very good level for a gentleman driver. Last year he started with an old Class 1 DTM car from 2006 doing some historic racing, and he's ready for that. He is managing that, and that's not an easy car to drive. That's cars I raced in my time. I know how difficult it is, and it is the next step, the next challenge. But still, to get him track time, this championship is perfect, because you're only learning by track time. You have to be out there, you have to drive every day, and then it comes to a routine, and then you get a feel for it, and you make the next steps.
A couple of years ago, I was at the Norris Ring, and I got to see quite a lot of the Motorsport Classic lineup, some of the Group A cars and the DTM machines. There's a lot of modern cars in the workshop as well. Do you think that beyond this Aston Martin, we may see something else in the summer series at all from you?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, our summer program is very fully packed. Yeah, we are doing the GT for Germany. We are doing the Michelin Le Mans Cup with an LMP3, the Prototype Cup Europe. So it's proper packed. Aside our historic championships we are doing. So this car is for sure. But let's see. Maybe we can convince some other customers as well. It's still a little bit of time until it starts, and we are preparing everything for that.
Well, we're very much preparing, of course, as well on our end. Just over 2 months until the summer series. Hopefully just a few hours more and a night's sleep until we get to go racing here this weekend at Valencia. But thank you so much for talking to us, and always great to chat, Stefan.
Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
I'm joined now by Jess from Race Streaming. We've seen and spoken a lot about race streaming over the Winter Series so far. For those watching at home who maybe aren't familiar with the brand, what exactly is race streaming?
Yeah, so thank you. So race streaming basically is a stream device like this one. You plug it in your race car, and then you can stream live video from the car to the pit box, or through internet, to the audience or to the broadcasters.
And how did this all start then? This whole idea?
So we were racing ourselves, and we're basically looking for a way to get on board in the car, not having to look at the recorded footage afterwards, but be live in the car while we were racing. So we basically developed this platform and this tool for ourselves, based on our own needs. That's how we started it.
And obviously it's proven to be very popular. We've spoken a little bit about this over the course of the Winter Series so far. What are the main benefits, would you say, that teams and drivers can take from using this?
Yeah, so the teams can basically follow live video directly from the pit box. So they can follow the drivers on track. They can use it for coaching situations. They can get all the metrics, so they can connect our system to the onboard systems in the car and get all the kind of like overlay data and metrics that they can use in decision making, strategy, these kind of things. And then of course they can use it also to publish, within their network, sponsors, for their audience, and make it more appealing for people to follow motorsport.
And I believe it's not only the drivers who are benefiting, but also race organisers as well, particularly from a safety perspective.
Yeah, we kind of, in this journey we learned that the organisers are quite interested in this as well, and we can move over and I can show that on the screen. But basically they can have all the cars, onboard footage live from race control. So we also add something to the safety and the decision making for race control as well.
Well, let's take a wander, shall we, over to the other end of the garage, because we do have a full setup over here which will properly demonstrate exactly what this kit is capable of doing. So if you follow us over to this end of the garage, this is what we've been talking about. Talk us through what we're seeing here in front of us.
Yeah, so here on the right screen we see live video from the race car. So my partner sitting out there, we can see exactly what happens with very low latency, and we can basically push that video signal to any platform through the internet. In the middle here we have a race control dashboard. This is what typically organisers or race control are using to follow onboard footage, while the car is out on track. So they also have that angle for safety and security as well.
I'm going to ask you a very British question now. If I was interested in running with this equipment on my car, how much am I looking at spending?
Yeah, so every race car runs on money. That's kind of like, but this is extremely affordable. So compared to a set of tires, or you use many set of tires during a race weekend, we're talking about €2,500 for this, and that's basically just a plug and play solution. You install it within 10 minutes in the car, and then you're up and running.
So really, for all of the benefits you get from it, it's pretty good value.
Yeah, I think so. We would never race ourselves without using it. So we hope also other teams see the same benefits. So.
Well, there we go. I've learnt a few things down here. I'm a known technophobe, but I've learnt a couple of things about race streaming. Thank you very much for having a chat with us. And you'll be able to see this brilliant bit of equipment in action over the course of the season.
Nexano, on the path to becoming the world's largest independent business community. We connect entrepreneurs, experts, and decision makers across industries and across borders. In our digital ecosystem, people share knowledge, learn from each other, and grow together. Companies and talents gain access to relevant contacts, resources, and innovative projects. Our community stands for transparency, trust, and sustainable economic success. We create space for inspiration, collaboration, and new business models. Nexano, shaping the future of business networking, global, digital, and accessible to everyone.
Well, one of the great things about working on the GEDLICH Winter Series is we're always very well looked after, and a big part of that is this place. This is the hub of the paddock's activities, Mick Food, and this man over here, Andrea, has possibly the most important job, Andrea, because you have to keep us, the drivers, the teams, well fed on a race weekend.
Absolutely, yes. Hello guys, welcome to Mick Food. Yes, our work is give hospitality catering all around Europe with the Winter Series in Portugal and Spain, so where our driver, our team can eat Italian and international foods and stay healthy and a little bit fat during all the race.
It is very tasty food, I can attest to that. It's a huge operation though, isn't it, this? You don't just rock up on race day, you guys are here several days before and it takes a long time to set up.
Absolutely, we try to find a solution where we can manage in the case of which race we are going to do. So we use a modular structure so we can be bigger and smaller. And normally we have a setup that during 2 days, one for build up and the second day is for cleaning and prepare absolutely the best food that we can do. And as here you can see, today we have a huge selection of foods. Today we stop in an Italian typical style with tagliatelle with bolognese, truffle cream tortellini. We have grilled squid, vitello tonnato and hot zucchini. And here, as you can see, there is a 2 fridge bar with a refrigerator that can keep the temperature for all the time that the food is out, because also important, the timing and the temperature is really, really important for us. And guys, this is Mick Food. We try to do our best for all the team, engineering, mechanics, all for us is the same. And here you can see today is a little bit more or less work, but the guys love our work.
And how many people do you have on your team, Andrea? Because it's not just you, is it? It's a big organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. There is 10 people in total. 4 people is in the kitchen. 2 people is for washing the dish. They take everything clean. And then we have 3 amazing guys in the hospitality that work for us and take care during the lunch and dinner time for our customer.
Excellent. Well, it has been a pleasure taking a look around here, Andrea. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to enjoying your food a little bit later on today, and I'm sure this place will be getting very busy over the next few hours.
Well, that gave us plenty of food for thought, and it has been a fantastic day with a lot of learning here in Valencia. Andy, we have had some really interesting conversations, as we said at the top of the show. What have you learnt today?
Quite a bit, to be honest with you. I mentioned at the top of the show the conversation with the race streaming guys. That was fascinating for me. I think certainly when it comes to onboard cameras, I often think of them purely from a broadcasting perspective and how they can give us that window into the driver's sort of view from the car, but actually learning all of the other things that they use that for, race control, and then obviously driver training, and there was that whole aspect to it as well. They did start explaining to me what all the buttons do and where all the wires go. I did tune out at that moment, I'll be honest, but a lot of the other things they said I found very, very interesting indeed.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to admit when you tune out people's conversations. I wonder how many times he's tuned us out, Adam. What about you? What's been the highlight of your day?
Well, I got a little bit of summer series intel from Stefan Mucker. We'll be seeing the Tilo Goss Aston over the summer, as he told us, so that's really exciting stuff. And also, I mean, just getting to meet Chris Nissen as a bit of a motorsport nerd as I am. At the start of the day, Robin from GEDLICH came up and said, "Oh, I've got a surprise for you, Adam. You're going to interview Chris Nissen." I went, "Okay." Very exciting to do that, you know, learn the inner workings of some of his career in motorsport directorhood for Volkswagen and behind the wheel. It was a really good time.
Well, if I'm allowed a highlight of the day, you two have done yours. I think I would say learning about the race control, learning how they monitor the track limits and getting explained to me, you know, just all the things that they are watching. Neas was saying, you know, we're not watching just the live stream. We have so many cameras around the track, so many sensors, and of course it is vital to keep everything in check, especially at a track like Valencia with the track limits.
I was just going to say, I did have a Formula driver querying with me, how have I had so many track limits issues? So I hope you're watching the broadcast. You will not be named, but you know who you are.
Oh, that was fighting talk. Right, that does bring us to the end of the show, though. We have plenty of racing coming up tomorrow. Make sure you join us then, 10:15 a.m. local time.
We are racing in the Formula Winter Series for the second weekend. 3 seconds it does get a mighty run outside of the final corner. Danny Sufi loses it into the first corner. We are underway and racing in the GT Winter Series, but already